see me here. Who else would it be? This is the Observations with Otsu video for Monday, May 6th. I hope you've had a good weekend. A little bit different format today for a few reasons. One, I thought I needed the refresh. Two, it helps me, the intro helps me condense like literally 5 to 10 minutes worth of video every video. So that way it's shorter for you and also helps me to get to my point better. That's going to be something that I'm continuing to do. I'm going to continue to roll out different, I'm kind of doing a soft, not a rebrand, but more of a calibration to my brand. That includes everything. That's going to include Twitter, Discord, Premium, Apex Academy, my scripts, um, Arun in particular. I got a whole new free YouTube series coming out for Arun, sprinkled throughout the entire rest of the year, actually. So a lot of other things are going on. I'm even talking to someone about extending things into more of the job placement recruitment kind of thing. So we'll see. I've had a lot of people come to me asking me about how to find work in crypto. You're here every day, you're trading, things like that, and it's enough to where I think I could help create something with that. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. What you are here for is my review on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana on the weekly, which is what I do every single week. Every week that I post these videos, actually. And for today's video is going to be a theme of called music or Memecoin musical chairs. And the reason I thought of this is because one, I want to cover meme coins. I've been trying to cover this for some time. I've it's eclipsed me as far as priorities have been concerned. I've been really busy in the real world for the past month. But also too, meme coins are starting to wake up here. And it's creating a little bit of division, actually. There's a lot of people that think that we're going to continue to roll higher. Some people disagree, and some prominent people disagree and believe that we are going to go lower. So we're going to take a look at this. It's going to be a short theme for that, kind of discussing that, but I'm going to discuss it while we cover the coins. And so what I'm going to do, a little bit something different. I'm actually going to start with the total market cap again. That's something that I used to do, an old school thing I used to do. And then we're going to go into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and then we're going to do the meme coins last. And so a little bit different of a discussion. And I will sprinkle out, and the reason I want to do that is because I want to create whatever is true, right? Whether it's wrong or right, I want to create a narrative around, or I want to do the right narrative, of course. So I don't want any confusion there. But I want to look at total Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana to get a narrative on what the market looks like, and then I can justify what I'm going to say with the meme coins, if that makes sense. So if you're interested in meme coins, it's going to be towards the end of this video, and it should be a shorter video as well. And so anyway, that's pretty much the introduction. On top of that, you may have seen the introduction where the intro video where I have my WAP dashboard for Arun Pro. That's something that you can look at for different products. I don't want to say products and services. So some ways to help you navigate your day to day. And so some of that is Nowhere Premium, which is a private Discord group that you can join and be a part of and get extra views on the market from me, anywhere between alerts to videos to charts to trading portfolios, things like that. And then there's also scripts for you as well, depending on your needs. So that's the intro. Let's get started. All right, Bitcoin, we're going to go on the 2-week just slightly for a second to kind of compare notes versus the total. You can see that the structure is very similar, but with Bitcoin, we have made a higher high essentially. And that is important to distinguish. Now with the 2-week, the first thing I want to note is that here is your low end swing high order block. Basically means this is your low side of the top structure. This is basically the support area of the liquidity. And that's kind of where we're at now. We closed above it actually, which is really, really good. Actually, if you want to do the whole liquidity, this would be like this. So on the 2-week structure, we closed inside the structure, and that's really good. We've done that 2 weeks or 4 weeks in a row now. and technically even here as well. But 2 weeks or two candles straight, 4 weeks in a row, and that's worthy of something. I think there's a good consolation prize to the bulls there. Now with that, you have your next structure down here. If you want to go by the regular order block or the regular swing high order block, it would be right here. We've held this zone, and so right now we could consider a bounce. We could. Now, and I leave that as an asterisk because we have some other data to look at. With the A ring, we have this strong bearish wedge formation where you have the downward move and a horizontal move. That's kind of like a doorstop wedge, looking pattern. And so we're at about 71%, so that's still pretty high. Anything higher than 50 is really too high to consider a bounce for the time being. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but the bears are really strong here at delivering, and you could see that for the past three candles. So, as far as price action goes, we are still at a level here. And so, what I can tell you is about halfway through the wedge, sometimes that wedge stops playing out. And so, that's why I say 50%. If we can get to 50% and we're still holding here at this level, then I'm long here. Okay. I think I'm still decently long here anyway because of this support. I like where I'm at here. Haven't sold really any of my Bitcoin as far as trading goes, and so that's looking pretty good. We don't have any kind of hidden wedge or hidden divergence, something like that. ARIN or RSI is just kind of floating around 73%, not really doing much. Let's go to the weekly, kind of get another context of what this looks like. I usually only cover the weekly here, but I did the 2 week as well. So this is more of what this looks like. I absolutely love this candle here that we held. We broke below this zone for the week, and I mean it fooled me that I thought that we would break down. On the daily we can see this recovery better, but on the weekly this shows really well that not only did we wick through that, but we also closed bullish, and that's pretty good. I would say that's pretty substantial, and one reason why I'm bullish right now is because that recovery was pretty boss. You don't really get better recoveries than that, and so it's looking pretty good. And so with that, I can kind of stretch this up here. So this is the SHAB area, the swing high order block is what I call that. And so we need to reclaim 66, 65 700, or really just 66,000. And I've toyed with a lot. I think the daily level is like 67. Like that's one reason why we're having some difficulty here, because different time frames are giving me different price points. But roughly speaking, 67,000 is going to be more accurate. And so if we can get to mid 66, or really just 66 to 67, I think that we're going to do well. We're starting a bearish wedge here again, so this could add some pressure. So that's why despite the fact that I am bullish here, I'm a little bit hesitant because, one, we're not out of this range. We need to break this blue range here. Two, we already have a wedge on the 2 week. Now we're starting a wedge on the 1 week, and so we are in the eye of the storm. And so, is this storm going to continue, or is it going to falter out? It remains to be seen. And that's one reason why I don't necessarily trust too many bounces, because bounces could be just eye of the storm bounces. So take that for what you will. Do kind of have a hidden bull div, but this is too far apart, so not really fixed on that. I've still been eyeballing 52, 53,000. Most people have, but right now I think we're gonna dismiss that for the time being. I'm not gonna let that go, but I think we have other upfront analysis to look at. Let's go to the daily. So on the daily here, we had this drop down. This is where we can analyze this. This was that order block from the past, videos that I've looked at. Had the drop down, we had the fake out. So that's pretty good. Now we're kind of resisting this zone. And I mentioned in Discord that we would come back down to the 61,000 range, and I still think that we can. I still think that that's likely. We also have a trend here, and a lot of this is going to be repeat if you watched my video yesterday, but I think that we are going to bounce in this range here. And so within where the darker blue and the red meet, where we're going to get this super dark blue area. I think we're going to touch somewhere in this area. This is where I'm interested in, somewhere between on the low side of basically 61,000 to 62.3. That's where I would look to scale in for my longs. On the daily, we have a wide bullish consolidation. It's probably one reason why we're not dropping just yet, is because this would need to play out more. Most of the time, this plays out in a bull cross. So depending on where that goes, if it crosses above the 50 zone, then that's good. You'll know where the cross happens because of where the opposing trend is. Right now it's at 64%. If this can cross now, that's good. If it waits until this other line is below 50, doesn't mean it's not good, but it's going to be weaker. And so we'll see where this goes. We actually rounded away from the 50 zone, which also makes me think we could reject here. And this is where this becomes difficult for me as a trader and as an educator, because I am bullish here, but I'm not very bullish. Like, I'm just slightly bullish, and I'm cautiously so. And so sometimes when I'm cautiously bullish, I don't actually enter any trades. And people will misinterpret that as me being bearish, and that's not necessarily the case. And so we're kind of in one of these zones where we're not quite bullish, we're not quite bearish. I see both. I see both things playing out. I do think the bulls still have enough momentum to continue a rally, but I don't think the evidence is there that the momentum will stay that way, if that makes sense. And so with all of this, I do think that we reject back down to this 61, roughly 61 and a half area, and I think that gives us a chance to continue upward instead. Okay? And that's what I want to mention with Bitcoin. The biggest thing is we faked out this level. A fake out is huge. Deviations, which is what a fake out is, are very, very strong. And so I don't have any I don't have any room for thinking about bearish price action right now because this is so strong. If this loses the level, which means we would have to go back down to 58,400 or 300, I should say, 350, then I can start to think about that. But right now, we reclaim this a huge level. I think it's worth a long position here, or more long ideas, I should say. So that's Bitcoin. How does that give us a context with the meme coins? It kind of shows that we did have a downward price action structure, and we've reclaimed that structure. So that does mean that we have some sort of stability in the markets, and I think that gives us some independence with each coin. Now, whether or not that performs well or not, that is a different story, and we will take a look at that as we look at Ethereum. So this is Ethereum. We're going to go to the 2-week again just for this video and take a look at this. So first things first, had a big drop down. Honestly, every candle for the past 5 candles have been a drop down. And that kind of shows that Ethereum is much weaker than a lot of people anticipate. I'll be honest with you, I have not traded Ethereum pretty much all year. I think maybe once. And I only have one spot of Ethereum, a small percentage of spot Ethereum. And I focus most of my spot in Bitcoin and Solana. And so most of it actually is in Solana now, because I sold half of my Bitcoin at 70,000, and that was by design. I'm not convinced that we will get above 100,000 Bitcoin, $100,000 Bitcoin. We'll see where that goes. But even if we get to 150, that's only a 2x. I'm okay. Sacrificing that 2x to focus on something else that could be stronger, right? So Ethereum has kind of showed its weakness. Honestly, I hope this market cycle is not over, because that's a pretty bad cycle in my opinion. Probably the worst one that I've been a part of. And I don't think that that's true. I think we're only about 40% through a cycle here. So anyway, going with this, we had the drop down here, another A-rune wedge forming. It's already got this little hook over here, this foot. So we are going to continue that. We had 73%. So again, this shows me, take 73%. If you don't know this, this is why I'm making this A-rune series, YouTube series. You take that percentage, 71, you divide it by 7, which is a little bit over 10. It's like 10 point something. You go ahead and round up. You always round up, even if it's 10.1. So that makes it 11. Okay. So they would take 11 days for that wedge to maximize its potential. It could invalidate before then. Most of the time it does. But it could take up to 11 candles or 22 weeks for this downward move to continue. That's of current price action. That is not from the top. Okay, this is not from here. This is from here at 3,000. So we could have another 22 weeks, 22 weeks of non-bullish price action. Okay, and I don't I want to emphasize that because I don't think people are ready to hear how big that is. That's like almost half a year. I think it is half a year. Anyway, to make that worse, that is just for the pattern to invalidate. For the bullish trend to reconfirm takes two candles, which would be 4 more weeks. And so that would be roughly 26 weeks. 26 weeks of non-bullish price action. Now, it may help you to know that most of the time it's sooner. Most of the time. I'd say half the time. It is sooner. I think 25% of the time it's like half as soon. So it would be 13 weeks instead. But I want to really emphasize that that's not a guarantee. That could continue to go down. That's one reason why I'm not really trading this right now. Because I got plenty of time um, to wait for this. I mean, we could be almost close to Christmas by the time that Ethereum goes on a genuine rally. Okay, most people I talk to, in their personal opinion, believe we only have 9 to 12 weeks left of this bull cycle, and I tend to agree with that. But I also tend to agree that half of that is going to be just mediocre, and then we're going to get a firework rally towards the last 3 to 4 months. Okay, and you're probably going to make more in those 3 to 4 months than you have in the past 2 years, but we'll see. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. So with that, we can look at this order block structure here. I like this here. It's still holding above the mid. I had a lot of patterns doing this where they're kind of got the double tap into the demand and they're coming back up. So far, that's okay, but I do think that that means we're going to come down. We still could come down to the 29,000 or 29,000. I will retire 2,900 and then come back down to 25. But we'll see where that goes. Ideally, with Ethereum, I'm so hesitant on this because one, it's acting way less performance wise than Bitcoin and Solana. Solana's the easy player this cycle. Just focus on Solana. I don't know why anybody would be an ETH maxi. The fees are too high. The NFTs aren't really what they were, and everything like that. But also too because you have a really crappy range because this is kind of just in the middle of nowhere. But this range itself doesn't really make you a lot of money. Even if you go from top to bottom, your max potential is 31%. Okay, that's okay. I mean, that's not a bad range by any means, but that's very less than a lot of other ones. So just keep that in mind. But with that, with the Arun on the 2 week, doesn't really look good. But let's go to the 1 week where I usually go, see if we can get a better context. Right away, I can tell you that this is the weekly structure. So this looks a little bit better. The weekly structure is more in tune with the mid. We have this deviation rejection middle here at 318, so we could hold this zone. One thing that I do know about 2 week charts is sometimes you can't do those Fibonacci block things anyway. I'm a much bigger fan of looking at EMAs, honestly, for high time frames. And so that's one reason I tell people, if you don't know what you're doing, and most people don't when they're starting off, and you know, I'm not going to pretend like I always know what I'm doing either. I still use EMAs on high time frames to trade high time frame trades, and why not? You know, I can show you a 200 EMA and see how I can outperform probably most of you. But most people don't want to do that because it looks too mid curve. Okay, and to be honest with you, it's probably a mid left or right curve. You know. So anyway, with that, looking at the mid here, we do have a bearish wedge, a thinner one, so it should have less of an impact. Also at the 41% structure, so that would be more 41 divided by 7 plus the 2, rounded up is roughly like 7 to 9. So you have 7 to 9 weeks of non-bullish price action. So that's where we could trim that 26 week I was talking about down to 7. Because if we get the right structure on the weekly, that would invalidate the 2 week potentially, depending on how high we go. So if we get a really strong bounce, we could invalidate that. But we'll see. On top of that, you could also still get the bearish cross, get the bullish consolidation instead. Lots of convoluted things there. That is why I'm making my YouTube video, because I think a lot of people are very interested in my ARN. They just don't know what I'm really saying. And so that's a way to kind of meet in the middle. And my academy is going to teach all of this. If you're interested in my academy, I got a wait list coming this week, and it'll be a way to sign up. It is a paid thing, but I'm not asking for any money in advance. It's going to be at the day of or whatever. So anyway, we'll look at this, and I'll look at that when we get there later this week. But for this here, I'm waiting for a bounce. You guys know my rule on this. I want to get a bounce at the if it's going to be really if support is going to be support, it needs to bounce. And so I'm okay waiting for a bounce first. Right now, haven't gotten it, but I'm still looking for that recovery at 3,000, and we're already above it. So I think we might dip below and come back. Now the daily is a bit of a different story, and I mentioned this in the Discord. We have a bullish wedge, falling wedge, same thing. And so what we have here is we got this structure where when we have this wedge pattern, it tends to consolidate and move upward. I've also mentioned, and I can't remember where I put this, I think it was right here, where we had a resistance structure where this broke above, reclaimed down, and so we have the rejection. And this is one where I thought that we would come back down to the 3,000 even range. We're very close to that. But I also mentioned in Discord that if we consolidate below this, we would either consolidate above it and break above, or downward and break above. And I think we're getting that downward consolidation, break above. And so in order for that to play out, I'm looking for it to hold this range. It could come down to about 29.50 and then break above from there. And so I think that that's okay. I think that we could get that bullish bounce. That's what I'm looking for. If we break above this zone, I would probably look at a long signal here. You could do it before the break or after. It has its own criteria. So this will be a 2.4R trade with 15% profit, or you could go up to 4,000 and pretty much double that. So that's what I like with Ethereum. Pretty clean, pretty simple, very thin bullish consolidation to match my consolidation here on the price action point. No RSI confirmation, but we could get that as we get closer to this wedge. Now, that's Ethereum, that's Bitcoin. How can I view this with meme coins? And so with this, I could see that we are starting to build up Ethereum. Now, I feel like Ethereum is kind of an isolated coin nowadays, because most of the meme coins that have done well are Solana coins. So I think it's up to Solana to kind of give us a compass for that. So we'll unfortunately have to dismiss Ethereum, but let's go ahead and go to Solana and see if we can get more context. All right, so we got Solana here on the 2 week chart, so very similar to Bitcoin in that regard. This is one reason why I focused on Solana over Ethereum in this cycle, and turns out that that was a correct idea. Had the push up a bit here, and then we kind of touched around the $200 area. We got slightly below that on the weekly, but that's okay. Not really much to say here. You have a kind of an order block structure here, kind of in the mid. We're rejecting that. This could be seen as a deviation. But this is where I also say, like, these 2 week charts are kind of fumbly. So with this, we have a deviation here. We have a rejection of the mid thus far, but we still have 13 days to go. So we could break above that. We also have a hidden bull div here, so we could chop in this range for some time. And we also have this bearish wedge. So that also, again, says 71%, very similar to Bitcoin. This makes me think that we still have up to 26 weeks of non-bullish price. And when I say bullish, I mean bullish. Like, not like slightly bullish, I mean full bull. We could go slightly bull before then, but 26 weeks in total. And so we could be ranging for more than you think, and we could be chopping ourselves out of any positions in the meantime. So we got to be careful, right? And so you got to take that one step at a time. But the 2 week doesn't really tell me anything else other than that. So I want to go to the 1 week, give us a better context. And so this does kind of make me look and see that you have this structure here, you have this structure here. This makes me think that this was a deviation pattern, and then we are retesting this mid. And so very similar to that 2 week proposition, right? That we are retesting this mid zone. Could we break above? We still have time. If this does on the weekly, 6 days from now, then that looks good. This bearish consolidation actually was not a wedge. It actually is curling up, which if this doesn't cross past one, the lows here within a couple days, which was a couple weeks, I should say, which it probably won't. That means we're going to redo a consolidation. And so we could come back down to that 135. I think 135 is a very key zone because of this structure here. You had your retest, another retest, I should say, support retest, and then a retest again successfully. We just need to break that mid. We need to break 154 on the weekly. So other than that, looks pretty good. Another hidden bullish divergence, which basically means we'll chop. Go to the 1 day structure. This is where it looks a little bit more interesting here. And clear this out because we're getting serious. So with this, we have a few different things. One, we have the swing high order block here. So you had a retest of this structure, almost a double retest, lows, retest of the lows. You had your divergent, not a true divergence, but a divergent price pattern. And so that was good. And then you also had kind of a wedge structure trend line break. And so that's looking good as well. So a lot of things good. And there's a few bad things, but we're going to look at the good things first. So anyway, with that, we have the bullish consolidation. Pretty wide, not super wide, but wide enough to where it can get a rally of this size. And then we have a reclaim of the 50. So those are all good things. Now, what are some bad things? Honestly, only one. And this is right here. We need to reclaim this zone. We need to reclaim that 155 area, which is what I mentioned on the weekly as well. That's that structure that we need to look at. If we can break above this zone, then I think that we're good. Technically, it would be this entire range from 155 to 170. I would be much more happier if we get above 170, but I think 155 is good enough. So if we can get that, then I think that we could long relatively, okay, with confidence, I should say, up to $200. Now, that's Solana. How can we view this in terms of meme coins? And honestly, I think the answer will, before I get to the meme coins, I think the answer will be if Solana can recover this 155. If it can do so, then I think the meme coins will perform well. There's a lot of other coins I talk about in premium that don't really get discussed on Twitter that are starting to wake up as well. So if we can get this structure to reclaim at 155, I think we're good. But I do think that the performance will be based off of the performance of Solana. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but also it lends perspective on why you would even care. Because it goes back to what I said about Bitcoin. Why would you want to trade other altcoins trying to fight against the spread when you could just buy Bitcoin, right? And even leverage Bitcoin. You can margin leverage Bitcoin on BingX, and I can leave a sponsored link on that. But the thing is, that's the same with Solana and the Solana ecosystem coins. Like, yes, you can beat the spread, but I'm not sure right now is the best time. And so we could reject here. We'll see. But I think the performance on Solana will determine the performance on meme coins. Now, let's go to meme coins. I'm only going to do 3 for today. I'm going to do Dogecoin. I'm going to do Dog with Hat. I'm going to do Pepe. And there are some other ones. I might cover Bonk towards the end. But I just want to give those as examples because those are very popular examples right now on the market and see if my idea is correct, that it's dependent on Solana. First things first, I'm going to do Dogecoin. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I know that Dogecoin is not a Solana token. But I'm going to add this because I'm curious if it can give us a different context, right? So if Solana meme coins are focused based off the performance of Solana, then we should get a different result than from Dogecoin, correct? So we'll see where that goes. Now, with the 2-week structure, I can say this looks relatively bad. Um, Now let's look at what we can do to navigate this. So first things first, you have this high block structure. We're kind of hovering above that zone on the 2 week. It would be about 15.2 cents, 15.25 actually. And so that's okay. We're close to that range, so we could bounce from here. We do have that bearish wedge that I'm talking about again. And so whenever we get that wedge, it tends to be a bad sign. But we'll see how that goes. We have a hidden bull div, which could negate that. That is possible as well. But overall, you have this breaker, and this is what I'm concerned about, is because you have this this blue area represents the entirety of this candle. So all I did was take this candle and push it both sides. So this is your breaker structure, and usually when it breaks the highest, that's where it comes down to. So the highest structure is going to be right here at 11 cents. So we could come back down to 11. That's probably why we had 3 attempts to go down to that range. And so sometimes, not all the time, but I think most of the time we retest those. And so I do think coming back down to 11.5 cents makes sense. Okay, I'm not saying that we will, but I think it makes a lot of sense to do so. Now, let's go to the weekly. So right away I can say that we might have some mediocre performance. Now, the 1 week looks a little bit better. We had this recovery at support. That's what I want. I want to have a bullish candle at support. We do have that wedge, which is still okay. And and the RSI is just kind of floating. But I do think that this could be worth a long position if you are into this. Now, this is going to be pretty risky in my opinion. I think 8% stop loss is a little bit too risky given the conditions, but it still could play out. And if it does, this is what you would be looking at: 5.1R at 42%. And so but be cautious with that. Now, and I will never tell you that that's okay to do either. I never tell you to trade anything. This is just what I would trade for myself. Now, with the daily, little bit of just convoluted mess. The way that we can look at this is we did have a trend break here. And so that's worth noting. We could hold that structure. This does support the long idea that we could try a long first and see how that goes. We do have a high bullish cross with a thin bearish consolidation. We did have a reclaim of the RSI, but it is now currently failing. So this level, if we lose the 15-cent level, or actually 14.8, I'll be concerned. Right now, I'm not concerned on the daily or even the weekly. But if we lose 14.8, I am concerned on all time frames. So if that makes sense. I think we are on thin ice, but I think that this is recoverable. So we'll see where this goes. So Dogecoin, not bad overall. It is its own chain. So we'll see how this works independently. So we will look at WIF, PEPE, and then I'll add BONK as well, actually. So dog with hat, this is the 2-week structure. Not really much we can gather with this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Doesn't give us a lot. We have kind of a rejection here, but again, 13 days to go. It's just whatever. And that's actually pretty impressive that we got that big of a wick on only really less than 1 day. 12%. I guess it's not too significant, but very interesting structure. Let's go to the 1 week to give us a better context. Not really much else we can do with. We had the push up above. But one thing you can see here is this structure here for the past 3 to 4, basically 6 weeks. It's been very similar to Solana. And so bearish consolidation, not a wedge, so it's not super strong. And so we did reclaim this structure here. And so I'm going to mark this out and see what this looks like on the daily. But it doesn't look too bad with that. Now let's go to the daily. This is where that weekly formation is. Probably why we're getting a bunch of mess here to begin with. As far as the price action goes, we have the trend line break, and so that's good. Had the reclaim of the structure, also good, and which I'm going to put right here. Actually, I'm going to change that. And so I'm going to get rid of this weekly structure because this is probably the weekly support area. Rejecting here, which I don't particularly like, but it's still holding that zone. We do have a high bullish cross at 68%, so that's pretty good. I think this has a chance. I think out of all the meme coins so far, Dog with Hat probably has the best chance to move forward. And this is reflective of Solana. Solana does have a chance to move forward if it can climb above that 155. And so that's where, I hate using the word correlation, but it could be correlated this way. And so we'll see where that goes. But this also does kind of show that we might have some more better performance options with Solana coins than we do with non-Solana coins. Dogecoin is more of a 50-50 scenario where Dog with Hat is more of a slightly more bullish scenario, I would say. So, but also you got to realize all that could be dependent on Bitcoin as well. So that's something that is has some potential here. So I like Dogecoin, or I like Dog with Hat here. All right, now I'm going to go to Pepe and see. Now Pepe is going to be a little bit different option. I'm trying to give a variety of coins here, but one thing, let's go ahead and go to the 2 week again. 2 week structure, very interesting here. Had your almost a bullish breaker here, but you have a resistance zone. So with your 2 week structure, you have a huge range, and that doesn't really help you much. But if we can break above into basically the 865 area, then we could long on Pepe here. I think Pepe is very interesting. Pepe is almost a little more independent than some of these other coins, and so I think it could perform well. Now, still have the wedge on the Aaron. Our size kind of this is really insignificant because of how weirdly patterned it is. But let's go ahead and go to the weekly. Not much else to look at other than this could be viewed as a deviation. But this could be too on this side. So it doesn't really say anything one way or the other. We could just branch this out. You have your new range. So your new breakout would be about 890 roughly. And so that's kind of how that goes. Nothing really else with that. Can't really do too much with it. Thin bearish consolidation. Our size is fine. So let's go to the daily here. And so one thing that we could look at is that this is the structure here. You had your lower high. You got your retest. So we need to break above, probably even higher into the 900, range to get some sort of effect on this. And so another thing is you almost kind of have a wedge structure. No divergence yet on this, or I won't say yet, but no divergence right now. And so you do have this could go up. In fact, if it does, it's going to rally pretty hard. But these are typically signs that we're going to go down. Now, with that being said, what do I think about Pepe in regards to the Memecoin musical chairs? I think that this is much more of a lower probability, and so that is again, I think reflective of the Solana ecosystem. Coins that are part of Solana are probably going to perform better. And so that could be your edge in the market. Now, I think Pepe still has a chance here if it can reclaim that 900. If not, then, I don't want to say up or down, but that's pretty much what this is. We are at resistance here at a double top scenario. Not the best time to long, okay? Especially now that the market is starting to flip over just a little bit. I think the market still looks okay, but again, I told everyone in my Discord yesterday, and if you're not in Discord, go ahead and invite. It's a free invite. But I told them that we would get a red 24 hours, and that's kind of what we are getting. We do have some isolated coins, but I warned people in advance that would be the case. Now let's go to Bonk. And so with Bonk, a little bit strange of a structure here. So I don't think I'll bother with the 2 week here. 1 week, actually, I won't bother with that either because it's kind of a mess. So with this, we can look at this structure like so. And so you're kind of in the middle of everything. It's kind of fighting all sorts of stuff. But you have a very similar scenario to Pepe right here. You have a double top, but you have a divergence here. So this one's a little bit mediocre here. You had a series of lower highs, and then you have a double top. This was a higher high, but this was also a divergence. And so now we have that deviation. And so now it's probably one reason why we're coming back down farther. It's just not strong enough. And so we're probably going to hit back to this 23,000 area range for, I think it's sats. And so we can work with that, or whatever you want to call it, the denomination on that. And so we're kind of stuck within that range. So if you want to kind of get rid of these, we're kind of within this range structure here. And so I think just a break of that range would be sufficient. We have that wedge pattern. Again, almost every single coin I've talked about today on most time frames have had this bearish wedge. That should be scary to tell you that long term, again, this is a weekly video, that long term, I think we're headed more towards bearish price action. Okay, I think we might have a good couple weeks here. I really do. But I think over long term, I think from, it's May 6th right now, so maybe to like August, we might not get the bullish price action that you would expect. I think the worst of the bullish price action could end within a month or two, and then after that it's just sideways. So we'll see where that goes, but I have been vocal about my 8 to 9 week probability on that, and then right now I think we're in week 5, so I think we still have some time to go. But overall, and so this is interesting. This gives us me a curveball because Dog with Hat looks good. Bonk does not. Bonk is more 50-50 with Dogecoin, and some other, and Pepe. So is this conclusive? Not really. This is not as conclusive as I thought it was. That makes me think that Dog with Hat is more based off its meme structure, and it's not necessarily correlated directly with Solana. You guys know I'm not a big fan of correlation theories as a way to trade because of this scenario. Because you know what's the narrative here? That everything is correlated off BTC. Well, you can kind of see that with the total market cap, but then it doesn't work when you try to trade it, right? So when you go to meme coins, it depends on the memes. Dogecoin, very, it's like 55% bullish, 45% bearish. Bonk right here is very 50-50. Pepe is a little 50-50 in my opinion. Dog with Hat was really the only one that would work out well with that. So it's could be a sign that just that coin performs well because it has a stronger impact with the community, or it could just be just a certain part of the market. But I am not convinced. I know my buddy Credible Crypto made a video, and I haven't. I did watch some of his video, but um I don't disagree with him. I think that is on to something. I don't. I'm not going to never. I really won't. Very rarely will I say like I agree with somebody 100%. So I'm not going there. This is not about agreeing or disagreeing, but a lot of people are giving him a lot of flack for having a bearish stance on meme coins. But the thing is, I don't disagree. I think there is a case here for um I mean that's one of the reasons with the theme of the video meme coin musical chairs, because I think that we're just shifting around liquidity. Where are the new users? Where are the new people to add on to this, to the demand? There isn't. There really isn't. And so when that happens, time is not on your side for meme coins. And so yes, they can go up the highest, but they'll go down the highest as well. And so that is part of the issue. And so I'm not gonna go so far as to say I agree with him on everything, but that's also because I didn't watch the full video. What I did see is a lot of people giving him trouble for creating his stance on the market, and that's where those people are going too far. You should not be hating on someone because of your difference of opinion, and that's also a sign that those people are overexposed, more than likely. I mean, we're looking at Bonk right now, right? And one thing that I know is that there's a guy out there that had 12 million unrealized US dollars in Bonk and he did not sell. And apparently this guy has like 7 million or whatever. I don't really know. Um I mean, I think he was somewhere around here, and so he's probably lost like a quarter of that. So again, that's still life-changing money. You could still sell right now, pay your taxes, be done. I just don't get it. I don't understand that. Okay? And I honestly don't think it's because I'm older or because of any other scenario, right? I think it's just because these people are I don't want to say they're unintelligent, but I do think that the euphoria gets the best of them. Okay, I even if you think Bonk is going to be the next Bitcoin and you're sure, let's say you went to the future and you know that Bitcoin is going to get flipped by a Bonk, I still would sell a good part of it here. Because if you are single, then no matter where you live in the world, $3 million of that, 4 million, let's just round it up to five. That's life changing money, and that's very likely retirement money. Okay, depending on how inflation goes. That's retirement money as of today. that may not be as of tomorrow. But that doesn't mean that you continue to gamble on a coin. Cash that out, get more passive with it. You can make a lot of people. I know a guy that retired. He retired last week at 52, age 52, and he used it with the fire strategy and he used it without crypto. He hasn't bought a single crypto. Okay, and he did that because he was able to conserve a lot and he had a different approach. But I want you to know that having a degen mentality does not guarantee retirement. What are you guys doing? A lot of you guys are making life changing money and you're not changing your life. So I just don't understand the approach there. But that's not for me to. It's not really me for me to say. That's not my. That's you and your decisions and what it is what it is. But as far as the criticism with meme coins, I lean towards cred. I do. I think that the meme market is shifty right now at best. I think there are chances it could go up, but it's based off of some hopium and the previous mania that we had. And now I do think that we could rally, but I think that might be months in the future. I think that could be upwards to 6 months in the future. But we'll see where that goes. But I think overall, if I was to put meme coins in a category and tell you, like if I was to put them in an index and tell you, is that index going to go up or down in the immediate future? I would say down. I would say down. So, but we'll see where that goes. But Solana's not looking too bad. A couple outliers not looking too bad. But I did mention, as far as this week goes, um, I can kind of go into the summary portion of this, but I do think that um, this week we'll have this read for another 24 hours at the most, and then we might rally to the end of the week. All right, so looking back at the video, we talked about the total market cap structure, how it's very similar to Bitcoin, and how we can look at some options as far as trading that. Looking at Bitcoin, we had a pretty good recovery for the past week. We still have a ways to go for the 1 week and 2 week structures. I think this looks good enough for a rally, probably for the next 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see where that goes. I'm not convinced that alts will pull with that. I'm not convinced that this market is strong enough for that right now. Primarily because there's not a lot of new buyers right now. Going on to ETH, we had this weekly structure. This was an idea that I had that didn't work out just yet. So had the rejection here, looking for this zone, and so looking for a play of that break. With Solana, we had the rejection here. And so with this, I'm looking for a break of about 155 to see if that will continue. And I also kind of showed that a break of that $155 range should be good for the Solana ecosystem as a whole. And then we also looked at some other coins, and I'll just throw WIF on the board here. WIF was the best meme coin of the bunch, and I think a lot of that has to do with more of the network and the hype versus it being a meme coin. I think a lot of meme coins don't look good right now, and I think WIF is probably one of the few that look decent here. And so, as far as the meme coin narrative as a whole, I do think we're playing musical chairs. There's not a lot of new money coming in, not a lot of new liquidity, and I think that eventually is bearish. And so I'm not. If we have any bullish structures on meme coins, it's going to be on an individual basis. It's not going to be as an index. So anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I'm happy to discuss this more. Again, let me know if you like this new format. And so happy to get any and all feedback. I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you next time.